Self-assessment is a critical part of the learning process. It is the act of carefully reviewing one's performance in an interview or in a hearing, in a phone call, in a brief or an affidavit, in one class or an entire semester.
I think self-assessment is something we're always doing, just as human beings, but I think law school kind of pushes you away from that. And
away from it?
I think so, in the sense of, I don't know, law school is very isolating, so it's always about you, but I think for the majority of the time we're always looking at others' assessment of what we do. I have been asked on 2 occasions to assess myself through a self-assessment survey and then also through the learning agenda, and as I mentioned, it's challenging to do. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that's a focus of law school, is to assess yourself in a discrete assignment kind of way, or even in a conscious way.
So as I understand it, the point of the self-assessment is that you, once the performance is done, you then look back and think of things that you did and see whether you want to improve on them. So if that's the goal, then this is not an improvement to the self-assessment necessarily, but maybe the way it's administered, that before the interview, seeing the self-assessment, and we kind of did this, but seeing the self-assessment, knowing the goals that you have, and then completing it afterwards. So look at it beforehand and after.
I think I have a hard time thinking of things as performances. So to the extent the self-assessment can be tailored to, whatever, I guess performance is a broad word, but if it can be kind of specified to the event that's happening, that would be helpful. And then I think also thinking about concrete goals beforehand. So we had the chance to do the assessment early in the semester, so knowing kind of what the questions were was helpful.
In the sense of you have that interaction with a professor and you're starting to see, this is how I do things and this is where I'm moving toward, and the professor kind of nurtures that. It's a very new process for me, but I think it's good, and I think in my second year of law school using that assessment survey to start the experience, and then coming back 15 weeks later and using the post-assessment survey was very helpful in the sense of seeing kind of where I'd come. I think a good way to teach students self-assessment is to have them practice. And I know in the co-op class we do it once at the beginning of the semester and another time 15 weeks later at the end of the semester, and I think that's valuable, but that's only one time that people are assessing themselves. So maybe, I don't know, if you give certain assignments and then you have them even conduct a survey, for example, about where they think they're at, and then doing the identical survey 3 weeks later after they've completed that assignment, maybe that would be something where I think we like, as students, as human beings, we like the comparison. So you can see, how did I feel about this assignment before I did it? I completed it, how do I feel about it now? Maybe having them do that on an assignment they have at the co-op, for example, because then you have a more discrete project where you have an opportunity to really look at what it started at and how it ended. I think that could be valuable. I think practice is probably the best, because it's a skill, and if it's a skill that can be taught, it can also be developed, and I think it just takes practice.
Yes, we had several goals.
What were they?
I think the first and most important was to read the atmosphere in the room, so that as things were developing in the interview, we would be able to adjust accordingly.
I think our major goal was to have it go well and have it eventually be successful, have Owen be granted asylum. But specifically for the asylum interview, I think it was just to, as far as we did have control, make sure that we kept Owen calm and answered all the questions and handled ourselves appropriately.
I thought one of my strengths was the public speaking. I felt like I gave my closing well. I had good, I was comfortable. I felt like like I was able to respond very well to the officer's questions and the issues raised by the officer, and also create a kind of rapport. I don't know how to put that really, or like draw them in to the narrative I wanted to create.
I think I was more silent than I should have been in the hearing because I didn't want to say the wrong thing. I felt like I said something I shouldn't have, and I think that kind of like made me feel like, oh my goodness, I should be very careful about what I say, and I think that made me very hesitant during the hearing to speak up because I didn't want to say something that was out of line with, you know, our case theory or the, you know, the image, like not the image, but, you know, the information that we were trying to put before the judge. So I think that prevented me from being as active during the hearing as I could have been. I really do wish we had been better prepared, and I think if I had been in a different mindset, I mean, I'm not saying it would have gone so much better. It could have gone a lot better, and I do take responsibility for that because I should have made more of an effort than I did, and I thought I was doing the right thing at that point in time, but now looking back, I should have done things differently.
I liked that I got to feel like a real attorney. It was a little scary, but I did feel like there was a lot of preparation beforehand. We did a lot of work. We planned as much as we could, I think, especially because it went well. It was a good experience.